I will always remember how Karen looked when the red and blue lights blazed across her immaculately kept lawn. She stood there with her arms crossed and a smug smirk on her face as she pointed dramatically at our gated driveway. She was sure that this was her time to shine after weeks of being harassed. The two police officers walked up cautiously, and I saw on our security camera feed that one of them tapped his earpiece and listened closely. He looked at Karen with a fresh sense of doubt and adjusted his attitude. "Ma'am, dispatch is telling us this is a false report," he remarked in a stern voice. "There is no emergency at this address." Karen's mouth dropped open. "That's not feasible. I heard people yelling." She kept saying, "There's something strange going on in there," and her voice got louder and higher, which I had learned to hate. Karen had no way of knowing that my wife, Elaine, was the 911 dispatcher who answered her call. Elaine knew right once that it was Karen's voice. 3 months ago, my wife and I moved into the house of our dreams. It was a lovely piece of land on the border of the Oakwood Estates community, technically beyond the Homeowners Association's boundaries, but close enough that we could both use the same street entry. The previous owners made it quite plain to us. Our property was private and not subject to HOA restrictions. We have the paperwork to back it up. But that didn't stop Karen Wilkins, who called herself the HOA president, from making things harder for us. It began in a harmless way, a knock on the door only a week after we moved in. Karen stood there with a clipboard and a phony smile on her face. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she greeted cheerfully, but her eyes were already looking for problems on our property. "I just wanted to let you know that your mailbox doesn't meet the standards of our community. You have 7 days to get a new one." I remember politely smiling as I told them that our property wasn't part of the HOA. I even offered to show her the papers, but she waved them away. She laughed in a condescending way and stated, "That's a common mistake. Our aesthetic rules apply to all homes in this visual corridor. Here is a copy of our rules book for you." Before I could say anything, she pushed a 3-ring binder into my hands. Later, I found out that it included more than 100 pages of restrictions that were way too precise, including what colors of beige were okay for outside paint and how tall garden gnomes could be. She came back the next week, and this time she was unhappy with our landscaping. It was our porch lights the week after that. Every time, I politely told her that we weren't part of the HOA, and every time she got more and more angry. My wife said we should just ignore her, and that worked for about 2 days. Then Karen started putting violation warnings on our mailbox. After that, everything got out of hand very quickly. Karen started taking pictures of our house from the street, often spending 10 or 15 minutes recording what she thought were violations. She also blocked our driveway with her golf cart, which is the unofficial vehicle of petty dictators everywhere, while she used a tape measure to measure the height of our hedges. When I told her to move, she talked to me for 20 minutes about how everyone in the community should be responsible. The last straw was when we got a certified letter saying we owed $750 in HOA penalties. That's when I decided to put up a security gate at the end of our driveway. It wasn't very scary. It was just a simple row of iron with a keypad entrance system and an intercom. But it made a clear point. Our land was private. Karen was very angry. She left voicemails asking for the gate code so she could get in case of an emergency. She said there were no community codes governing the right to inspect and threaten to sue. I kept every letter, note, and piece of paper that showed how her behavior was getting worse. My wife, who is an emergency dispatcher, said that if things kept going the way they were, we might need a restraining order. Then the day came that altered everything. I was working from home when the buzzer on our gate started going off over and over. I could see Karen on the surveillance camera with her finger pressed against the button and a look of resolve on her face. I didn't want to, but I answered the intercom. She said without wasting any time, "You need to open this gate right away. Someone has complained about your property, therefore I need to come and look at it." "Hey Karen," I spoke it as calmly as I could. "I just wanted to let you know that we are not part of the OA. You don't have the right to look at our property. Please stop bothering us." Her face twisted in rage. "Don't you dare tell me what my power is. This group has had me as its president for 7 years. You need to open this gate right now or else." Charges. Karen's face went from shock to anger to terror as he read what she had written. "This is crazy. I'm in charge of the homeowners association. You can't take me to jail for keeping an eye on the area. But they could, and they did. As they slowly led her to the patrol car, Karen stared back at me with hate in her eyes. This isn't over, she said angrily. Actually, Karen, I said gently, I believe it is. The neighbors who had assembled stood there in shock as Karen was put in the back of the police cruiser. One of them, an older man, walked up to me slowly. He quietly said, "We've wanted to say something about her behavior for years. No one had the guts to stand up to her. After giving a statement to the police, I walked inside and finally got in touch with Elaine during her break. She affirmed what I had previously thought. When the phone rang, she immediately knew Karen's voice and our address. Elaine said she couldn't believe she would go that far, but I made sure that everything was written down correctly. There is proof of her bogus report. Karen's legal problems turned out to be serious. 3 weeks later, at her hearing, she was found guilty of lying to the police and abusing emergency services. The judge was especially unsympathetic when we showed her proof of the months of harassment she had been going through. She had to pay a $5,000 fine, do 200 hours of community service, and be on probation for a year. The restraining order that kept her from getting within 100 feet of our property or contacting us in any manner was the icing on the cake. The HOA itself had the most pleasant effect, though. Everyone agreed to have an emergency meeting, and Karen was voted out of her job as president. It looks like she had been scaring other people too. Her face was a mask of astonishment and amazement as she was led out of the meeting. She couldn't believe that her reign of small tyranny was finally over.